The topics and opinions expressed in the following show are solely those of the host and their guests and not those of W4CY Radio, its employees, or affiliates. We make no recommendations or endorsements for radio show programs, services, or products mentioned on air or on our web. No liability, explicit or implied, shall be extended to W4CY Radio or its employees or affiliates. Any questions or comments should be directed to those show hosts. Thank you for choosing W4CY Radio.
Are you a songwriter? Are you looking to turn your songwriting passion into a full-time gig? Whether you are just at the start of your songwriting journey or a seasoned industry professional, this show is made for you. Welcome to the Songwriter Show, bringing together songwriting news, interviews, and community. Now, welcome your host, Sarantos.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Songwriter Show. I'm so thankful that you're joining me again this Tuesday evening. I'm your host, Sarantos. I'm a solo music artist who's been writing lyrics for as long as I can remember. Words are very important to me, and that's why I'm so thrilled to host this show for you. I strongly believe that every song is a story. The Songwriter Show is broadcast live on #1 ranked W4CY Radio and has listeners in all 206 countries in the world and every state in America. This station is also licensed with ASCAP, BMI, CSAC, and Sound Exchange, and has partnerships throughout the music industry, including iHeartRadio and exposure to over 300 million listeners. Tonight's first and only guest is Ghostman. He's been into music since the 70s, and he grew up listening to punk, metal, country, and alternative. Basically, he's got some new songs going on, and he's going to talk to us about his near-death experience. Welcome to the show, Ghostman. How you doing tonight?
I'm okay, my friend. How are you?
I'm doing good. So I heard it's kind of late where you're at.
It's like 1 o'clock in the morning. Right? It's like,
So why don't you tell our listeners where you're from so they understand that it's 1 o'clock in the morning there?
I'm from a place called Holsworthy in Devon. Now, if you imagine that England is like an old man carrying a pig to the market, we're at the pig trougher's end.
Okay. Let's start a little bit. You started in the 70s. What got you going into this career?
Basically, I used to hang around with a local band called Nuclear Death, who was like a punk cover band. And it just got me into music. I just used to go to their studio and do a little bit of roading on the side sort of thing. Okay.
And what got your blood boiling? Was it a guitar, piano, lyrics, music? What's your thing?
I like to do the lyrics. I like to try to think I can sing. I'm not very good at playing instruments. I used to be able to play on the guitar, Hang Down Your Head, Tom Dooley, and In the Ghetto, on the guitar, but that was a long time ago.
Okay. So tell us a little bit about your inspiration. Is there a band or a person or a couple of them that inspired you to do what you're doing?
Oh, well, it's endless. As I say, I was a big fan of Marillion. I've seen Motorhead live, Aerosmith, The Cure, Sex Pistols. There's been so many influences over the time. I think as you go through your life, you get more. You sort of leave one music and then get influenced by another.
Yeah. Tell us a little bit about. Was your family musical, or were you the first one to kind of go down this road?
No, as far as I know, I don't know if anybody in my family's musical. I think I'm the only one, I think.
Okay. And if there was anyone you could be in a room with, dead or alive, what musician would it be if you could pick one?
Oh, that's a hard question. I think I would like to be with... Let me think. Sid Vicious.
Okay. Tell us a little bit about your process. do you start, you're focused on lyrics, as am I, but do you start with a melody? Do you start with the lyrics? Do you have someone, do you start with a drum loop, a guitar? Like, how do you start your songs?
Well, normally it's just inspired by something that's influenced me on the day. Something might trigger a memory, and I think to myself, oh, wonder what I can write about that. And so it's like recently we've had Brexit over here, and I wrote a song about Brexit. Just basically taking the mickey out of it a little bit. But that's how I get inspired, basically, by the events of the day or what I feel at the time.
Okay. How do you figure out if a song that you've written or produced or, almost got to final stages, how do you figure out if it's something that you're going to release to the world or if it's something that just doesn't cut it for you and you're going to trash it?
Well, I've got the philosophy, just put it out there. And if people don't like it, that's entirely up to them. You cannot, in my opinion, is you cannot influence people what they like and what they don't like. It's entirely up to them.
Okay, but is there like a mentor? Is there some bandmates? Is there, anyone you bounce it off of? Like, how do you figure out?
Yeah, I'm with you. I have a friend who lives in a place called Wolseley, which is, again, in England, his name is Jonathan Downs, and he's been doing music for a fair while. He does a lot of alternative music, and sometimes I bounce a few lyrics of him, and he'll say, oh, no, that doesn't quite work. So we sort of like, now and again, he'll give me a word or an influence to say, oh, I would change that or do this.
Yeah, and as I've gone down this road myself, this is officially my 6th year, and I've realized it's very important to try to have somebody to bounce things off of. Otherwise, sometimes, we try things we think are cool, and that outside perspective with someone with fresh eyes really makes a difference sometimes, don't you think?
I quite agree, my friend. Yes, we do need it.
Is there any advice for someone that's just starting out in this career, this path? Any advice you'd give them?
Basically, write what you need to do or learn what you need to do musically, and basically do a sample, play it back. If it's not quite right, redo it until you feel it's right, and then put it out there and see what people think of it. And then just start slowly. Don't presume you're going to be an international hit maker straight away, because that does not happen.
Yeah, that's true. Unless you have some serious connections and a serious marketing budget. When I first released my first song, my second, part of me thought, oh, it's going to go viral. And like you said, with experience, you kind of realize just put out what you're proud of, keep trying to get better. And whether it goes viral or it doesn't, we're all just living the life we want to live, I think.
Yes, and I think that's what makes musicians suffer for their art. We're a bit like the painters of old, like Van Gogh or people like that. We want the perfect song that's going to be that number one. But in a world where there's so many songs out there, unless I get on X Factor or something like that, but then I wouldn't do that anyway, because yeah. I think that music's a bit too rigged, in my opinion.
Yeah. Tell us a little bit about what's the weather like over where you're at right now?
It's been raining cats and dogs, as we would say over here. Not literally cats and dogs. I mean, that'd be a bit awkward, The cats would probably argue with the dogs, and the dogs would chase the cats. But it's been very wet, very windy, and basically typical British weather. Yeah,
that's okay. I've been to England once, and I absolutely loved it. So I think you guys got a nice little country there. And you're definitely at the hub of music, between Adele, Ed Sheeran, obviously when you go to the past, the Beatles, I mean, there's so much musical history there that I know when I walked around England, I was just inspired. I just felt it in the air. I don't know if you feel something similar or if you're just kind of used to being in England, but anything you have to comment on that?
Well, I think, as I said earlier in my bio, I was heavily influenced when I used to live in a place called Southend-on-Sea because of the different cultures around at that time. It did heavily influence my style and my music, and my music influences sort of stopped at the 90s. And after that, I listen to other stuff. I'm not saying I don't, but I'm heavily influenced by the 70s and 80s. I admit that.
Yeah, I definitely love the 80s. That's my favorite. To be perfectly honest, that's probably my favorite genre. And I try to mix it with modern pop rock because some of the stuff going on nowadays is creative. And of course, like anybody, everyone's got their favorites and what they like and don't like. But how do you get people to take you seriously as a musician? And you can't say that you don't.
No. I was going to say I have a picture of I'm on River Nation, and as a way of getting my stuff out there, I took a picture of a pair of glasses with a water bottle behind it, an empty water bottle behind it, just to get the image out there, just to people going, "What's that?"
Yeah.
And then they sort of look at it, and then I'm hoping they're thinking, "Oh, I can see that he's trying to sort of like be sort of funny, but be serious at the same time."
Well, you know who's I'm blanking on his name. That's hilarious. I saw him. He opened Fred Sheeran. He's got James Blunt. You know, "You're Beautiful," his famous song, and he is absolutely hilarious in concert. And I think humor is probably the most underrated thing that you can do in life. And musically, I think that's a unique thing you're trying to do, and I encourage you to keep doing it.
Well, I think it's important to put humour in everything because we're in such a dark world sometimes, and dark events happen. And I think you just got to put what I call a touch of light on it. Not much, just a little dab.
Yeah, I love that. That sounds like a song. Put a touch of light on it. I love it.
We could work on that.
Yeah, absolutely. So before we get to talking about your song in a little bit and listening to it in a few minutes here, have you done any touring recently, or do you have plans to tour?
I wish I could tour, my friend. I'm technically classified as disabled.
Oh,
I
okay.
have small bits of disease of the brain, which affects my memory and cognitive skills, and I get a little bit confused. And I have neuropathy, which affects my body. I have to walk with a crutch. And I have a few mental health issues, which is OCD, which is nothing major, but anyone with it would know how that can affect your life.
Sure, absolutely. Well, you know what? I commend you for, not sitting there feeling sorry for yourself, and you're still trying to follow this road and being honest about it. I think that's wonderful. Absolutely.
Well, I believe in honesty because I think the trouble is, people can find out so much about you now. There's no point sort of like, being untruthful because they'll find you out.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Tell us a little bit about, I kind of ask everybody this, and I'm going to ask you before we get to your first song. There's scams out there, and they're all over the place. England, U.S., especially in the music field. Tell us about a scam you fell for or one you want to warn us about so that the listeners can hopefully not fall for the same thing.
Well, the only thing I can advise people is stick to sites that you know are fairly safe, like River Nation, and there's other ones out there which I can't remember at the moment. But they're fairly good. They will recommend things, but you don't have to use them if you don't want to. And just be careful. If you think if it says it's free, and you're thinking, hang on, this seems to be too good to be true. It probably is too good to be true. So just be wary of it.
Yeah, absolutely. And even on some of those sites, Music Extra, Reverb Nation, I've actually seen some scam on there too, where people pretend they're, everybody has their claim to fame, pretending they've managed someone or worked with someone. And I've had some things that start off kind of free, and then before you know it, they're trying to, manage you because they believe in you, but then all of a sudden they're asking you for money. And it's just, you just got to be careful with that kind of stuff. It never ends.
It never ends because they want to take your money away, to take you the blues and run away.
Yeah.
You'll be left with nothing but fear and despair. That poor singer sitting there.
And I think part of it is, musicians are an easy target. You think, hey, what's $10 here, $50 there? And it's not just the big fish. Sometimes these people asking for little amounts that you're never going to recoup. And it really gets you no exposure and leads to nothing. It's kind of sad that I've fallen for it myself, and I feel bad when artists give these people money.
I quite agree. I mean, unfortunately, it's because some people want, as we said earlier, want the instant fame, and they think by doing this they're going to get it. And I'm afraid, as we mentioned before, they're in for a big shock. It's a big bad world.
Yeah, absolutely. So tell us a little bit. We're going to hear your song in a couple of minutes here. Tell us about this first song, Sexuality. What inspired it? What do you want us to take from it when we listen to it? Tell us a little bit about it.
Well, I basically wrote this because somebody, I did an interview with someone, and they questioned about that. They mentioned about their sexuality, that they had like females, and I thought back to the time when I was younger and I was quite shy, and people used to think because I never talked to girls or didn't surround myself with women that it was possible. I was gay. I mean, I have no problems with anybody's sexuality at all. It's not a problem to me. But this is what inspired the song. I just thought, that's a good subject for a song.
Yeah. What's the lead instrument in this song?
I think it's a guitar, because I did this with a collaboration with a band called Electric Mud, who I interviewed on my show, radio show, and they said that I could use their bit of music, because I always ask. If I collaborate with someone, I never use their music unless I've asked first.
Sure, absolutely. And what do you want when we listen to this song? What do you want us to take from it? Is there a certain vibe, a certain feeling, a certain message?
I think it's just to be good in your skin. Whatever you are, you are. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about the ones who want to judge you. You are what you want to be. As Popeye used to say, I am's what I am's.
Yeah. I miss Popeye. That was a great show, yeah. That's a wonderful message, my friend. So can't wait to hear the song. And we're going to take a listen, then we'll come back and talk some more, okay?
Okay.
All right, so here we go. Let's check this out. Sexuality by Ghostman.
Doesn't matter who I like, man or girl, or alien too. doesn't really matter to me. Sexuality doesn't really matter to me. Judgments made, mistakes said, no one worries this day and age. Old-fashioned ideas are going out of place. So why not join the human race? Sexuality doesn't really mean much to me. Sexuality it doesn't mean much to me. Practice what you wish, be kind to others, treat them with respect, at all that matters. Sexuality, that's all that matters to me.
Ghost Man, you still there?
Yep, my friend.
Yeah, that was an interesting falsetto, man. That was so Bryce is commenting, one of our listeners, I can see this getting people in the mood for some things. And I think that was kind of your intention, correct?
Yes, correct. My intention is to just basically get a message out there that's slightly subtle, but it gets it out there.
Yeah. So it's interesting. Whenever I hear people with a British accent singing, I can't always tell they have an accent. You know, they talk and then it totally comes out. With you singing this, I could actually still hear your accent, which is kind of cool and trippy because, like I said, usually when people sing, you can't make out their accent. So that was definitely interesting.
Oh, I'm afraid I have an Essex come Devon accent, so I can't do much about it, I'm afraid.
Yeah, that's all right. You know, it's funny. People tell me I have I'm from Chicago, and they say I have a Midwest accent. I'm like, what are you talking about? I have absolutely no accent. You have an accent, but I think each of us, we're just used to hearing people with our quote-unquote accent, dialect in our area, and we think everyone else sounds different.
Correct. It's funny how most people in America perceive us as, hello, my name is Ghostman. I'm on your show. I'd like to be here. Johnny Holly Sticks and all that. Or, all right, mate, how's it going? Apples and pears.
Yeah, so when I did some videos and some acting kind of stuff, it was like the quick, easy, dirty way to have a British accent that I was taught was just don't move your upper lip. So, I don't know if that's true, and that's what the really professional actors do with their voice coaches, but that kind of worked for me. And I don't know how you impersonate a Midwest accent, but I'm sure there's some trick for that too.
Yeah, it's a bit hard. The only thing I've ever come close to American accent is, hi there, my friend. How's it going?
So let's talk a little bit about if you could have a superpower, one superpower, what would you pick, Ghostman?
I'd pick invisibility. Because then I could check out people and think, that's why they don't like my song.
Yeah. So Jim is asking one of the listeners, why would a voice coach tell someone that? I think he's asking specifically about maybe my comment about how to impersonate an accent. So, when people are trying to have a Southern twang or a British accent, or Australian accent, there's all sorts of tricks that professional vocal coaches teach them. And I am not privy to those conversations because I've never had a professional vocal coach. But, through the grapevine, there's all sorts of tricks and things that they teach. But again, I'm not the guy to talk about that. Ghostman, I don't know if you have any comments.
I've got to. When my kids were at school, they used to go to school saying the words yellow or water.
What is that?
That's yellow.
Oh,
is yellow. Water is water. in Essex. And
I
in
gotcha.
Devon, it's all right, my bird. How's it going then? It's been a nice day here. I don't know what it's like over there.
Yeah. So I see a follow from Jim, not moving your upper lip. So here, I'll try to impersonate it, but essentially, here's me not moving my upper lip, and I'll just kind of randomly say anything. So today, Ghostman is on the show, and he's been into music since the 70s. So again, it's just me not moving my upper lip, and it kind of gives you a quick and easy way to pretend you have a British accent if you're acting. So, yeah, Jim, who's listening out there, that's basically what the point was.
And Jim, don't forget, I am British myself, so I know what I'm talking about.
Yeah. What's the strangest compliment someone's ever given you for your lyrics?
That they've actually said, okay, I can see where you're going. I quite like it. I thought, fine. As long as someone said, I like what you make. Somebody liked the next song we'd probably be talking about, Not My Time in Heaven.
Okay. Tell us a little bit about the weirdest road trip you've ever been on.
Weirdest road trip I've ever been on? I can tell you that. Once, while I was in Essex, I was invited to go to a punk gig in London. So I went there and obviously saw all the bands, and then it finished at 6 o'clock in the morning. And then I went home, and then I had to start work at 7 o'clock in the morning. So I went straight from the concert, straight to work, and did my work, and I was like sort of half asleep. And then I went home, and then I crashed out, and then I went back out again. That was the weirdest day I ever had, musical-wise.
Yeah.
The punk band was okay, by the way.
Yeah, I heard you did some punk stuff too before?
I would love to do some punk stuff. It's a sort of style you can more or less get away with quite a lot.
Okay.
Obviously not with the swearing, obviously. I don't like the swearing.
Yeah. So, Chuck is asking you, Ghostman, trying to follow this. Do you have a job that you can work tired?
Do I have a job that can work tired? The only thing I do for my pastimes is I produce my own radio show. But apart from that, no.
What kind of radio show? Do you interview people? Do you just play music? What do you do?
My show's called the Ghostman Radio Station, and I cover things from cryptozoology, paranormal, Bigfoot, UFO, conspiracy theories, authors, singers, musicians, bands, comedy, basically anything. You can talk about any subject on my show. I'm not worried about what happens.
Interesting. You ever written any songs or music for something like that? Something paranormal or?
Oh yes. I've written my own promos for the shows. Done my own sort of little promos.
Yeah.
It's cheaper than hiring someone else.
Yeah. Tell us a little bit about a project that you're working on right now that you want to share with us, that you're excited about, that's coming up in the future here.
I'm going to try to work on. I did produce a little EP that I put on Spotify, like my own little EP that I just did, not like a professional one. But I'd like to sort of work on my. I'm going to ask my friend Jonathan Downs if he could help me produce like a proper version of my EP, and I'll find my songs and see if we can improve it a little bit, like bit of better production value.
Okay. Before we get to your second song here, do me a favor. Tell us a little bit about your website. Where can people listen to your stuff? Where can they find out more about you?
Well, you can check out the Ghostman radio station on Radio Republic, Spotify, Red Circle Podcast, and I'm available on YouTube as well. And I do a blog called Ghostman on Blogspot.
And if somebody wanted to get a hold of you, I assume they can find your contact information on those platforms.
Yeah, they can email if they wish. I can give my email over here if they want the email. I'm not worried about that because, if it's a viable one, I'll answer it. All they have to do is say, hey, I heard you on the show, blah, blah, blah. And I'll answer the email.
Okay. Tell us a little bit about what you were like in high school. I'm just curious.
What I was like in high school? When I was in my infant school, I had to kiss a girl in a classroom because my real name is Mark Antony. You can guess why they wanted me to play the part of Mark Antony in a play about Mark Antony. I just refused to do this, and I ran away from school as fast as my little legs could take me. And in secondary school, I was quite shy, really. I think I developed the need to be less shy and get myself out there because I realised it was inhibiting me a bit. So anybody who's out there who's shy and finds it difficult to communicate or experience the world, I think I would advise just put yourself a little bit out there because you'll be surprised how much you may get back.
Yeah, I think that's very true. I was super shy when I was younger, and I second that. You don't want to waste your time being scared to death of trying anything. Whether we're talking about asking someone out, chasing your dream. I mean, you just got to go for it sometimes. Yeah, I totally agree with that.
Dreams are meant to be true, no matter what we do. The stars above, we look at them, and we wished once upon a time on a star glowing up in the sky so far.
Wonderful. So tell us a little bit about this next song we're going to hear. What do you want us to know about it? What do you want us to take from it?
Well, the next song is based on my near-death experience, which I know people are going to say, hey, near-death experience? Well, basically, I was in a coma due to I had a blood sugar count of 124. If anybody looks that up, that's pretty high. And basically, I was taken to ED, straight to ICU, and then put in induced coma. Whilst I was in my induced coma, I heard a woman's voice I've not heard before or since, and telling me to wake up. And I had the most incredible feeling I've ever had to wake up. Now, I know a lot of people could say this is my brain, or I could have been a nurse, but I seriously believe, in my own opinion, this is my own opinion, that this was my guardian angel. And also, whilst I was in my coma, I was neither in the real world or the next world. And that, hence the name Ghostman.
Interesting. How did that change you?
Well, basically, it made me more spiritually aware, made me get into the world of paranormal a bit more. It did literally change me in lots of ways I didn't realise until you reflect back on it. I think it made you realise your own immortality. I think once you've experienced, nearly dying, I think there's not much that people can throw at you.
Yeah, it's not much to be scared of after that, right?
No. I mean, people say, oh, I'm going to, I just say, well, been there, mate.
Yeah. Does it change how you live your life?
Not really. I think it just made me just aware of things and spiritually aware, more conscious of people around me. I pick up on people a bit more than I used to, but I was always aware of things anyway because I used to work in mental health, and you had to be able to sort of suss out what was going on with the patients every now and again. So you had a sort of insight to what they may or may not do.
Yeah. So Janella has a question for you, one of our other listeners. How do you know when it is the right time to go for it? How would you respond to her?
What do you mean in song-wise?
Well, we were talking about, being shy, and, we were talking about going for it and not being timid.
Oh, yeah. Well,
Yeah,
how
so
do you know when to go for it? Well, wait, I would say if you're shy, now, as you know, the day we got mobile phones and whatever, you could go on something and talk about a subject you like. Say you're into football or crocheting or comedy or whatever. Just put a little video out there and just put it on YouTube or whatever, or to your friends. And then basically, bit by bit, you'll get more confident about talking to people. Because I think in this day and age, although we've got technology, I don't think we talk to people as much as we used to.
Yeah, I think that's probably very true. I'm all for technology and I'm a computer nut, but I also feel like we should take a little bit more time, like you just said. How would you respond to someone who has been through a near-death experience and wants to change something about their life? What would you tell them?
I would say if they feel confident about doing it, do it. Because they know, I would appreciate what they've been through. It would be totally different to me because we've all got our own personal experiences in that field. But there are there's similarities in all near-death experiences that we all believe we've touched our own version of heaven.
And do you think that what if someone doesn't believe in heaven? What would you tell them if they just believe that when you're done, you're done?
Well, I mean, I can't prove it either way. I mean, I can only say what I think I felt. I felt that I touched something. I can't explain it, but that's what I think. I mean, I can't. I mean, until we depart from this world and we go, hey, you was right. There's not a lot I can answer to that.
Yeah. Well, and you know what I love about you, Ghost Man, is, I've talked to other people in different arenas, and you tell it like it is. Like you said, you can't say for sure. And, some people get very defensive and very emotional, but, we each believe what we believe, and who knows? Who knows what came before us and what comes after us? And some of us believe, but we can't disrespect people that don't. And at the end of the day, none of us really know. No one's come back to tell us, well, again, except Jesus Christ, obviously, the Christians would say. So, it's been a real pleasure, man. Loved having you on the show. And anything you want to shout out before we listen to your last song here?
No, just go check me out. I hope I've been entertaining to you, my friend. And I normally like to do a unique sign-off when I do my show, so I'm going to give you one anyway, just in case you wanted it or not, or didn't want it. I like to say I've had a great day on W4CY Radio. It was the one that sorted me out and listened to me singing about. So thank you for listening to me on this show. Goodbye for me. I hope you like my songs. Goodbye. Goodbye.
All right, Ghost Man. You're awesome, man. I hope you have a wonderful night. Get to bed. I think it's like 2 a.m. in England now. And we're going to hear your next song right now, okay?
Okay, my friend. Thank you very much.
All right, my friend. Have a great one. Okay, bye.
Started with feeling ill, dizzy and thirsty. Doctor was cold. Not my time in heaven. My name was not in the book. Not my time in heaven. Flashing lights, wife in fear. A bullet count of 1 to 4. ED to ICU. Not my time in heaven. My name is not in the book, not my time in heaven. Darkness covers me like a veil, woman's voice heard calling me to wake. Not my time in heaven, my name is not in the book, not my time in heaven. I came back to planet Earth. The call of paranormal pulls my mind. The ghost man is back. Not my time in heaven. Not my name in the book. Not my time in heaven.
Well, I want to thank Ghostman for being on the show tonight. I got to respect someone who has kind of gone through and is going through what he's gone through and still kind of tries to persevere and is, quite frankly, pretty honest and upfront and not really trying to convince any of us of anything. He's just sharing his story, so I can definitely respect that. I want to thank all of you for tuning in tonight. I hope you had a wonderful time. It was definitely inquisitive and, just different. And if anyone wants to be on the show or you know someone who wants to be on the show, I invite you to just reach out via email or social media. I hope everyone's unique story gets heard around the world. My name is Sarantos, and please join me every Tuesday night to hear other amazing artists share their fascinating behind-the-scenes stories right here at the Songwriter Show. And tonight I'm going to leave you with another one of my instrumentals called Forever in My Heart. I've gotten a lot of great feedback from this song with people reaching out with comments on social media, and it kind of warms my heart because that's really why any of us do this. So I'm glad that this song is touching you and it reminds you of people that you've lost. This funeral instrumental CD was specifically made for people that are grieving, for people who to be played at funerals or at wakes or at memorials, and it's really had a very unique sense of feedback from everybody. I know death is difficult, and we all never want to deal with it, but ultimately it's something we all have to deal with at some point in our lives. So this CD is for you. This song is for you, and I dedicated this CD to my dad who passed away about a decade ago and really got me going on this journey to music. So I hope you enjoy it. I hope you all have a wonderful week, and we'll see you again next week for a really cool show with two very special guests next week. So have a wonderful week, and I love you, and I thank you from the bottom of my heart for listening. Thank you.
Thank you for listening to The Songwriter Show. To keep the momentum going, head over to www.songwritershow.com and join our free music community of artists, songwriters, and producers. That's www.songwritershow.com.